All right, hey everybody. Today we are going to construct in GeoGebra Classic 5 this pattern from the Imamzadeh Isma'il shrine in Isfahan. This is what it looks like as a single tile, and this is what it looks like as you expand it. So let's get into it. So I'm working in GeoGebra Classic 5, and I'm going to start by typing A equals 0, 0 to create a point at the origin. And then I'm going to type b equals 1, 0 to create a point 1 unit away from it to the right. I'm going to use my scroll wheel to zoom in a little bit. Then I'm going to grab my regular polygon tool and I'm going to click on the left point, then the right point. And I want 4 vertices to create a square. So then I'm going to select that square and I'm going to go to opacity 0. So that it does not have any fill, so that when I click inside the square, I can move it, or I move my whole workspace, but I don't select the square. Just a reminder, if you don't want labels to show up as you're constructing, go to Objects, Labeling, No New Objects. All right, so then I'm going to grab my perpendicular bisector tool, and I'm going to put in a central vertical line and a central horizontal line, and then I'm going to grab my intersect tool to create that center point. And I'm also going to put in, with my intersect tool, the midpoints of the sides. I don't necessarily need all of them, but I will need at least one, so I went ahead and put those in there. All right, next thing I want to do is put 12-fold divisions about my center point, but I don't actually need all of my 12-fold divisions. I just need 2 of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this point F by 30 degrees, or pi over 6 radians, about this center point E. And I'm going to do it in a clockwise direction. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to type rotate point F by negative pi over 6 about point E. So that's what that sequence looks like. And then I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to put in a line from E to that new point F prime. And then I'm going to right click and hide that new point F prime. I also could have just selected its circle over in the algebra view. And reminder, to get your algebra view set up like this, you sort by object type and you show the definition. All right, so then let's grab this intersection of that diagonal line with the top side of the square, and I'm going to put in a circle right here. And then where that circle intersects that diagonal, I'm going to put in a point, and then I'm going to grab my perpendicular line tool and I'm going to select that point and then that diagonal line. And I want the point where that perpendicular line intersects the top of my square. All right. I know I went through that kind of fast. So then I want a vertical line down from that point. So I'm going to grab my perpendicular line tool, select the point and then the top of the square. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to reflect this diagonal line over my central vertical. And I want to find this intersection. That's going to be important a little bit later. All right, so then what I want to do is I want to inscribe a square inside this big square. And the way I'm going to do that is by constructing a sequence of perpendiculars to this line. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. So I'm going to select this point and then this line, and then use my intersect tool. I can also select a line and then a point, and then the intersect tool. And I already have the point here, so I could just use my line tool for that last one. So see, we inscribed a square at a 30 or 60 degree angle to the larger square. Okay, so then what I want to do is put in these lines along either side of my vertical and horizontal that match this one. So I'm going to put in one here, one here, and one here. So that gets me all of those. Then I'm going to grab my circle with center through point tool, and I'm going to put in this circle, and then I'm going to grab this point with my intersect tool, and that's going to be a side of a 12-sided polygon that's going to sit inside this circle. So I want my regular polygon tool, and I want to select this point and then this point, and I want 12 vertices. And then I'm going to hide that circle. So that was circle D. And then I'm going to change my opacity to 0. And what I want to do next is reflect this polygon over this side and this side so that I can see where my motifs are going to lie. And those are mostly just going to serve as guides. So because I made the opacity of my polygon 0, I can't select it just by clicking on it. So I have to select it in my graphics view. So that's poly 2. So I'm going to grab my reflect about line tool, and I'm going to select poly 2 in the algebra view, and then I'm going to click on this side, and then I'm going to select poly 2 again, and I'm going to click on this side. And so you can see that helps us form some of the shapes that we need. All right, so then I want this point where this polygon intersects this line. And you'll notice if you select the intersect tool, I can't just click on that intersection. I have to select the line first and then the polygon, and that actually creates 2 points of intersection. We don't really need this one, but it's not going to hurt us that it's there. So we've got that point, and now what we want to do is we want to create a circle centered at that point here. And I want this point where that circle intersects this diagonal line. And I'm going to use these 3 points to form an angle. And I want the angle bisector of that angle. So I can select these 3 points either this order or this order, as long as my vertex is in the middle. So I'm going to click on this point, then this point, and then this point. And so I've got my angle bisector here. And I want the intersection of this angle bisector we just put in with this horizontal. And that's pretty close to the circle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom way in, and then I can click on that intersection. Alternately, you could have clicked on this line and then this line, and that would have given it to you. All right. So then next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reflect this point over this line, and that creates a shape here that's in our final pattern, but I want the equivalent shape over here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to select my reflect about line tool, and I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to click these 3 points, and I'm going to reflect them over this side of the polygon. And now I'm going to grab my polygon tool, and I'm going to put in this first quadrilateral, so this first kite shape. Now I can also put in this shape and this shape, and I can also put in this shape. So I'm missing a couple of points to be able to put in the equivalent shape up here. So I'm going to grab my reflective outline tool. Again, I'm going to hold down Control and I'm going to select these 2 points, and I want to reflect over this diagonal line. That allows me to put in this polygon. Then I want to put in the equivalent polygon over in the corner, and I have 2 points, but I'm missing these 2 points. So I'm going to grab my reflective outline tool and I'm going to hold down Control. Oh, I'm missing the line. Hold on, let me put the line in first. So I need to put in this line so that I have something to reflect over. So now I'm going to grab these 2 points and reflect over that line. And now I can put in that polygon. I can also put in this polygon. All right. I need a point here. So let me go ahead and put that one in using the intersect tool. And then I'm missing this point right here in order to complete these last 2 shapes. So I'm going to reflect this point over this line, and that will let me put in this polygon and this polygon. And now we're almost ready to complete our central, our tile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 3 quadrilaterals, so quadrilateral Q1, Q2, and Q3, and I'm going to create a sequence of rotations of those about this central point E to create the motif inside each one of these dodecagons. And I'm going to do that by typing sequence, rotate, curly brackets, Q1, comma, Q2, comma, Q3, close curly brackets. I want to rotate them by pi times I over 3, so 60 degrees, about point E, where I varies from 0 to 5. And oops, I don't want a comma there. So there we go. I'll leave that up for a second so that you can see that sequence. You can pause if you need to. Then I'm going to hit enter. And so that creates my sequence inside the dodecagon. And I can get it inside this other one by selecting that sequence and reflecting over the side of that polygon. So then what I want to do is I want to take this sequence M1 prime along with Q4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so Q4 through 9, and M1 prime, and create a sequence of rotations of those about point E. So I want sequence, rotate, Q4, Q5, Q6, Q7, Q8, Q9, M1 prime, by pi I over 2 this time, about point E, where I varies from 0 to 3. Oh, and I should have left that up a little bit longer for you. You can always go to your basic tab in your properties to see what that sequence looks like. So that's what I typed. I typed pi times I, but you can also put a space there, and that's what it translates to. Let me move back out of the way. All right, so that gives us our motif inside our square. If we want to expand it, we can. So what I'm going to do, this is G. I want to reflect M1 and L1 over G. M1, L1 over G. So that just allows me to get a single object over here rather than two objects. And then I want to take this object and reflect it over the top of my square. Oops, I selected the wrong thing. So you can always kind of click back on your arrow tool if you select the wrong thing. So I want to select this and I want to reflect it over the top of my square. And then I want to take this list L2 and this list L2 prime and rotate those about point E. So I'm going to go sequence, rotate L2, L2 prime by pi I over 2 about E, where I varies from 0 to 3. Leave that up for a second so you can see what I typed. Then I'm going to hit enter. And now when I zoom out, you can see I've got the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide, oops, everything except L1, L3, and M1. So I'm going to hide all my lines. I'm going to hide my conics. I'm going to hide my points, hide my quadrilaterals, hide my polygons. You shouldn't have any segments left to hide once you hide all those things. Then I'm going to right click over here and select everything. I'm going to change my color to black, my opacity to 0, and my style to have a thicker line thickness. And there's my pattern. I hope you enjoyed it. Tag me if you construct it. All right, thanks everybody.